Hey everyone, Adrian here from the Sound of Accra Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And in this episode, I'm joined again by my good friend Kofi M.A. And we pick up where we left off in season 1 in our discussion about preserving Black and African culture. Now, I know a lot of you guys enjoyed this one, so we brought the conversation back. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please do leave us a review. It does help us to get this content out there even more. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. This is audio only, this episode. However, we do plan to release some video clips over YouTube and social media very soon, so please do look out for that. And the sound quality isn't as top quality because we recorded this in a home instead of a studio, so please do be a bit mindful of the slight differences in sound quality. Other than that, enjoy this one, and I'll catch you on the other side. Thank you. Cheers. Hey guys, once again, welcome to the Sound of Accra Podcast. You guys already know this is the show where we chat with colourful creatives and entrepreneurs from Ghanaian heritage or backgrounds. You guys remember Kofi from season 1, who brought you that fire episode, Preserving African and Black Culture. It's still one of our favourite. People talk about it, man.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
People talk about the episode, man.
To be honest, I mean...
Yeah.
You know, we're just speaking on our experiences and from our perspective, really. So obviously it's encouraging to hear that people are tuning in and are interested in our perspective on things, because essentially that's really what it is. But yeah, man, you know how to show love with the whole link, like, subscribe, and all of that stuff. So continue doing that, continue sharing. If you don't share, I will. So it is what it is. We keep moving. Where to begin, really? I think on the topic of culture, as we've spoken on this previously, culture is something that always evolves, and kind of sometimes it molds, it picks up, you know, traces from other cultures, and I feel you have to really put into context what brings about culture. A lot of people's cultures, if you go deep enough historically, has a blend of other people's cultures. So let's just say, you know, you can't look past colonialism, for example. You can't look past prehistoric empires either. You know, if the ruling power took over a country, then the indigenous people in that country would have had a culture. But as the generations go by, through cultural mixing and, you know, interracial marriages, etc., that culture is going to pick up traces of other countries' cultures.
That's true, yeah.
Therefore, you can make the argument, and this is where the whole, I know guys, we're getting a bit deep here, but let's just keep it real as it is. This is where the whole kind of Aryan debate kind of stems from. So when I say Aryan, you know, the Nazi era, Hitler wanted what he termed the Aryan race, you know, the blonde, blue eyes. Don't come for me if my history is not incredibly articulate enough for you, but essentially it was in quotation marks, a superior race is what he was going after. And you know, there's patriotism.
I don't know how you got to Hitler, but it's okay.
The thing is,
I took it.
It all links. It all links in terms of the term culture and how far do you want to take it. Now, obviously, Hitler is an extreme, but it's first thought that came to my mind in terms of mechanically trying to preserve or create a culture. The reason why I use him as an example is because he was actually mechanically trying to forge a culture. Like, I only want this certain race to exist. So that means purging out other cultures and purging out anyone that doesn't look like yourself, for example. When I say natural cultural change, we're looking at diaspora, people moving in, immigration, interracial links and interracial cultural mixing. That in itself forms a new culture. That's why, for example, if we look at, you know, we just saw the England game, 10-0 against San Marino. It was basically like watching an advert, to be honest. It was just background.
I don't know how you managed to get that in there, but hey, man.
But like, this is what I'm saying, everything links. You look at the England national team now.
Loads of black people in the...
If you look at the last, I don't even want to say 10 years. Let's even go back like 5 or 7 years even. To think you would hear a name, Bukayo Saka, like, it's as Nigerian as they come, really. And
that's a good point.
Like, that is one of your first team England players.
Yeah.
So, but this current crop of England players would identify themselves as English. So then sparked the debate of what actually is English. Is English being white, being Anglo-Saxon, and how far do you take back English? Do you take it back all the way to the nomadic period? Do you take it to the pre-Roman Empire period? Do you take it to the Celtic era? Like, how far do you go back with culture? But the thing is, this is what we're talking about, right? So if we're going to say culture and preservation... Then it's English
and then it's British, you understand? So
like, culture's morphing all the time. So I think, to go back to your question and not turn this into a History Channel episode, I think there is nothing wrong with wanting to be in the comfort of your own culture. So if you want to date, for example, within your own culture, and just to throw in a little caveat as well. Again, what do we mean by culture? Like, is culture demographic related? Yeah. Like, are we talking skin complexion here? Are we talking culture as in class? Because remember, it's all interlinked. Sometimes class comes into the equation as well. Because you can be a black, articulate individual that lives in a very upper echelons of life or upper middle class life, and be in and around Caucasian and maybe Asian counterparts who are also subscribing to that upper middle class lifestyle. They speak a certain way, go to certain schools, certain environments.
It's true.
And other communities might term them to be bougie, to be, in quotation marks, why are you acting white, etc.
It's true.
And even that term, why are you acting white or acting a certain demographic, it's not an accurate term, because with even every country, white, black or Asian or brown or whichever, has social classes. So is education only linked with a certain skin tone? Is talking well only linked with a certain skin tone? And so when we say, like, I don't want to be associated with, for example, the black community because they talk like, yo, wow, when you saying everything cool, like, that's typecasting. That's, again, these are choices. These things don't make up black, because if I go to Ghana, we're not speaking like this. So what do we mean by when we say, like, this is sounding black? So again, like, the diaspora, those of us, and a lot of our slang, especially if you look at London slang, comes from, again, prehistoric. It's a trail of, like, broken English, a trail of patois, a trail of Creole, a trail of, you name the dialect. West Indian lingo has made its way through to British slang, like Wagwan, etc., and all of that kind of stuff. So we are in a new culture. Culture, you can define it how you want to define it. But yeah, I don't want to go into too long. But I think you have to define what it is you mean by culture and what aspects of culture are you actually trying to preserve. And I know it sounds deeper than what it is on the surface, but when you break it down, what are you saying when you say culture? And I think that's just a good starting place to at least think about.
Hey man, I'm sure everyone could take something valuable from that. It's quite a very interesting point that you made. Like, a black person can be raised at this part of England and, become posh. Another could become quite street. Another one could be quite African, especially if they've migrated from a maybe not a very young age and they've come over to England, maybe like from Ghana, maybe from the age of 10 or something like that. Yeah. They're still gonna have that culture with them, a strong kind of Ghanaian culture within them, even though they're in England. Yeah. And so I guess it's also dependent. Also, I think age is also a factor as well, whether or not they're gonna keep hold of that Ghanaian culture that they had as part of their uprising, and then adapt a bit of the British one as well. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, class is a really important element, because if you look at the whole, let's just say, for example, the whole street culture, right? Mm-hmm. Street culture has crossed over and made itself accessible to those who aren't even in social climates where street culture generally is birthed from. Mm-hmm. And if you look at most countries where gangs really thrive, obviously you've got white collar crime as well. Yeah. But if you look at the street level, sort of violent street level crime, a lot of it is linked to social economic deprivation and opportunities to get money in a quick way, etc. a lot of it is, you know, poverty driven. But then also you can use the same argument and say there is, you know, incredible levels of, or incredible depth of poverty in other countries. And it's not always the case that there is violent or, you know, a degree of crime in those regions. I remember hearing 50 Cent in an interview say one time that, you know, a lot of the time in American street culture we say, yo, like, I'm from the hood, you know, like, we broke out here, like it's kill or be killed, and we're just trying to survive, you know. And he said he went to, I don't know if it was Africa he said he went to, but he said there is certain poverty that he's come across that is worse than the ghettos in America. And they're not out here killing each other like dogs. And he's basically saying that to a degree, poverty or socioeconomic environment does have a huge part to play
100%
in street culture and, or gang violence, but
it's true.
It's not a given that where there was destitute, there was always crime. But it's the probability of crime is higher, but it's not always a given. Now, sorry for going on a tangent, but just to bring it back, street culture's made itself accessible to a middle class teenager who likes to listen to music where, you know, it was birthed from those environments, you know. So if you listen to a rapper who was talking about being in a gang and coming from the blocks and, you know, again, kill or be killed and selling drugs and whatever it is, that's not going to be a lot of people's worlds in an affluent nation, right? Yet they are reciting lyrics and actually enjoying the vibe and actually want to assimilate that culture without being born in that environment. So then you have people saying, oh, like, why are you trying to behave street when you're not street? Or why are you trying to behave X, Y, Z? You don't know about poverty. You don't know about hustle. You don't know about... And this is what we're talking about when it comes to culture. People are like, how far do we take this? Is culture exclusive? Does it only belong to those who have experienced it? Or can culture be passed on? Can culture be morphed? Can it be accessible to whoever wants to subscribe to that culture?
It's quite interesting you said that.
So this is what, when we say the word culture and all of this kind of stuff, these are the things that start to flare up from that conversation. Like, how far do you take culture? And then the problem is, again, with the street culture is when you start linking culture to demographics and race, this is when things get really problematic, because a lot of immigration that happens in affluent countries, so, you know, we're black immigrants in the UK, we didn't grow up in the blocks, and we thank God for it, you know. There's nothing in our hands, like we didn't decide which womb we're going to be born in. We came out of our mother's womb not by choice. Like, do you know what I mean? A lot of us weren't here by choice. We were brought into this world, and then you realise that your social standing is a certain position. So when we talk about culture and all of these things, you know, like, being black does not mean being poor. Being black does not mean being street. Being black does not mean saying, yo, what's good, fam? Are you cool? Like, these are choices. You know, like, you can have a sibling that chooses to feel comfortable in that culture. That's his choice. You can have someone who's never lived a street life wanting to feel like he wants to affiliate or feel like he has a belonging in that type of culture because he likes the music or he likes the swag. And then you can and then you can have, which brings us onto the topic of Ghana, obviously. If you know, how far do you preserve the Ghanaian culture? How proud do you want to be in representing Ghana, etc.
I mean, now obviously people are more kind of proud of it now, isn't it? Whereas in the past we're a bit more shy, weren't we?
Oh yeah, for sure. So 100%.
Yeah, obviously now everyone is just now, really about it. Now it's quite interesting because now you went from people who were hiding the African names. Now of course, they're
Yeah,
they're putting it out there as much as possible.
I'm not gonna lie, I think my parents were on the wave from early.
Yeah.
Like I had an English name, and that was just quickly. My mum was like proper keen for my name to be as Ghanaian as it can be.
Can be, yeah.
And obviously when you're young, you're like,
Stick to the
why
script.
can't you just let me have a John or have a whatever? Do you know what I mean?
And that brings us to the end of today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you got some good value from today's episode and took something away. Now, if you enjoyed my conversation with Kofi and you would like to have the key references from today's episode and you like to connect with Kofi, please head over to thesoundofaccra.com/Kofi M.A. That's KOFIMA, or visit our website, thesoundofaccra.com, and hit the show notes button on the header menu on the website. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do leave us a review. It really helps to support the show and get the episode out there a bit more. Also, if you're listening or watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share, and leave us a comment. It really does help to inform us what you think about this content. Other than that, we will be back again next week with another episode of the Sound of Accra Podcast, where we will continue on with season 3. We'll be back in fully fledged video, so make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube as well. Just search for the Sound of Accra and you'll be able to find us there. If you look out for us on social media and YouTube, we will be releasing some video clips from this episode very soon, so please keep your eyes peeled out. All right. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this one, and we will be back soon again. Thank you again for tuning in. Feel free to follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just search for The Sound of Accra and you will find us there. I've been Adrian Daniels, and if this is your first time listening, The Sound of Accra Podcast is the show where we chat with colourful creatives and entrepreneurs from a Ghanaian heritage or interest. Thank you so much.